welcome to another episode of Suck My Mind podcast. I am your host, Wize, and today's guest went from food stamps to 2,400 stages across 17 countries. She's an international speaker and entrepreneur who helps people master their message, overcome fear, and turn their stories into profitable, purpose-driven speaking career. She's proof that you can start with nothing, step on the right stage, and change your life. And she's here to show you exactly how to do it. Let's welcome to the Stuck in Mind podcast, Marianne Hickman.
Wonderful to be here. Thank you for having me, man.
The pleasure's all mine. I'm excited. I'm excited to have you. Let's jump right into this.
Let's go.
Take us back. What was life before your first speaking opportunity?
Well, my first speaking opportunity, I didn't give myself enough credit for. I started speaking when I was like 3, but I didn't know what I was doing, right? My church put me on stage I have to give a big nod to churches that put kids on stage because it just knocks the stage fright right out of you. But when I really started being intentional about it, I wasn't I was in my 20s or 30s. So before that really started happening, I got married really young, like 1 star, do not recommend. Like if you give that a Yelp review, don't do that. I missed my high school prom because my wedding was the next month. Like I was the only senior I knew that was sitting there in science class with an engagement ring on her finger. But I thought I was so cool, man. I thought it was just so grown up and so awesome. But what that meant was I threw myself into some circumstances that taught me a lot, but that were avoidable if I had done a little more listening and a little less ego. And I found myself as a mom of 5 kids who I love and adore. And when I was driving down the freeway, I remember driving very specifically where I was. I was in Utah in the Provo-Orem area. For those of you that are familiar, it's right by the university over there. Driving northbound on I-15. I was driving my 2001 Mazda minivan, rocking it like a mom should, right? This van later caught fire in my garage, but that's another story. So I'm sitting there and I'm just at the lowest of the low. I feel like I'm overweight because I was. I feel like I'm underpaid because I was. My bank account I was like afraid to open the app on my phone to look at my bank account because of the numbers that I would see and the numbers that weren't there because they were big and red and had a negative sign in front of them. And all around me, I'm following the system. I'm following the steps, right? I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to college. I'm getting the degree. I'm studying all the courses, spending countless hours at night, doing everything that society says you're supposed to do, and it's not working. I've got 9 older siblings. They've all got a level of success that I want, but I'm not figuring it out yet. I'm on food stamps. I'm going to Bishop storehouses and to the WIC program, and I'm getting all these things to trying to feed my family, and I'm kind of mad at this point. I'm kind of ticked. Because I'm like, listen, I'm a good person. I'm not out there committing crimes and not in trouble, but why have I just not figured out how to, this financial freedom concept that seems to be so elusive? Why? Why have I not figured this out yet? I thought that just kind of came with age, and I was wrong. I was totally wrong. I thought I had passed the milestone. So I was so frustrated. I was talking to God and he was sitting in my front seat right there, right? That's the way I talk to God. We're just going to have car conversations. And I said, listen, what is going on? Because I'm kind of ticked. I've got $100,000 in debt between student loans and all of these things that's going on. I said, listen, here's what you got to do. I'm like having a nose to nose, right? Here's what you need to do. You need to either put a box of $100,000 on my front porch, because I know you can, or you need to put me in proximity with someone and tell me who they are that can teach me this money game, because I don't know how to play. I don't know what the rules are. I don't know why I'm not winning. What is going on? And I would be lying if I said I didn't check the front porch for the box of money. I imagined in my head be like a paper box, with like cash in it and all of that. And in hindsight, I'm grateful that that's not the way it went down, because that's not a sustainable solution. That's not a solution that can repeat itself over time. And God knew what he was doing, and he put me in proximity with someone who showed me by direct instruction and by example how to turn your inspiration, your life's message, your experiences, your expertise in another fashion into something that is sustainable because it helps people. Not everyone does this, by the way. Some people get on stage just to have a flash in the pan moment of success, take money and run. Those people experience a high bout of success, but they don't last very long. And then they're out either in jail or creating terrible reputations, and they're bouncing up and down. That's not success in my book. I want sustainable success. And I remember I went to this seminar. I got home, put the van away. Another day, I went to a seminar, like we all do, the seminar junkies. And some seminars are really cool, and some are like, dude, put the Kool-Aid away. This is really weird. So I go to this seminar, and I watch this guy on the stage, and he's delivering a powerful message. It feels like it's kicking me in the chest, right? And then I watch when he does his call to action in the speaking industry. That's what we call it when you tell the audience to go do something. He does his call to action, and I watch 700 people stand up, go to the back of the room because they're excited. They're not lemmings. They're not just doing what they're supposed to do. They're excited. They want what's being offered. I wanted what was being offered. It was a $300, remember DVDs and CDs? That's what this was. This is a $300 set of DVDs and CDs to transform your mind, transform your life, and to be a better person. I couldn't afford it at the time. I didn't have $300 to drop on them. But I watched this speaker, watched 700 people go back, and I watched credit card transaction after transaction after transaction for $300 a piece. And I did the math really quick and dirty. And I said, 700 times 300 is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
How did he do that? And how did he make it so desirable for the audience that they wanted to get up and they wanted to put their money there because they valued what was at the back of the room more than the money in their pocket? How did he do that? So I started studying this. And I'm going to say I'm a continual student. I have experience, but I think for anyone to say, I'm an expert, I have nothing more to learn, I'm instantly not going to believe you because we're all here and none of us are perfect yet. But I've been a student of this so much that it's generated not only sustainable income for me and my family, but the coolest part is it's generated sustainable income for my members, my students. It has been the most phenomenal, real definition of influence, not the influence that we all think of with the mascara and the fake eyelashes. I don't believe in that, right? That's not influencership. Real influence means my life is better, my story is better because I heard someone else's story. That's influence to me.
So what was that? What was that moment when you realized your story could change lives?
So this was interesting. I was at another seminar. I feel like every story I was at another seminar, right? I was a seminar junkie. I was at another seminar and I'm sitting in the back of the room and I'm watching the speaker, and I'm the person in the back of the room that was like this with my arms crossed and my feet crossed and everything closed off and crossed off because I'm skeptical. I tend to overanalyze things. I was at the back of the room at this other seminar, and the instructor at the seminar said, hey, it was kind of a whisper campaign. I don't think he meant to do it. It was an accident. He's like, I knew his co-facilitator wasn't going to be there. They're going to be traveling for the next event. And the next event was like 3-4 months away. And in the back of the room, the facilitator, when the MC got up, he came to the back and he kind of whispered to his friends. And he's like, hey, come back out in the hall. I'm looking for another co-facilitator for this next upcoming event. And I overheard it. And I got to be honest, I was not invited, but I went anyway. And I went out in the lobby and I sat and I listened to these other facilitators. It was kind of a hot seat where he was, asking other facilitators to get up. And so I was like, okay, I wasn't invited, but I came anyway and they didn't kick me out. So I'm going to take a turn. And I got up and I started talking, and it was weird. People listened. And I was not used to this. I'm the youngest of 10 kids, so I am not used to being heard. I have to work really hard when I was a child to get my voice out there and to have it mean something to somebody, at least from what my childhood traumas and all that said, right? So when I got up and I said something, it was weird because when I was done, people were like, it wasn't an awkward silence. It was kind of this in awe silence, not to show how cool I am. I'm not interested in that, but it was the first time I realized that what I said really meant something to somebody. And the facilitator said, hey, could you do that again? Could you do that again? Could you come to the event and do it again? So by the next event, I was co-facilitating the event that I had just barely attended as a back of the room skeptical attendee. When we did that event together, what happened next was the facilitator, he said, I think you've got something here. What if we were to teach this to other people? we created this course and we started inviting people to join it. Now, at the time, we charged a lot more than I charge now. We charged $25,000 for people to join this course, and they paid it, and it was worth it. And then what happened is that when people graduated this course, they started throwing their own events, and they started teaching other people. One of our first graduates threw an event, and she made $19,000 at her first event. And I was like, hot dog, this works. This is transferable. This ability to communicate, this ability to influence people for good, this is a transferable skill. We can teach people how to do this. And if we can teach people how to do this, you know what's cool about that is that you have a message, right? I have a message, but I can't reach everybody. I'm not supposed to. But if I can teach people how to become a facilitator, then they can teach people that I will never reach. Which sounds really altruistic, but I do have an ulterior motive here, okay? So I'm raising 6 kids in this planet, and I don't know everybody that they're ever going to meet. They're going to interface with people that I don't trust and interface with people that I do trust, but I may never meet any of them. But if I can take this back door and say, I can influence somebody else for good, and that person will become a facilitator and a speaker, and they're going to influence their rooms for good, maybe, just maybe, some of those people will come full circle, and they'll be the people that interface with my kids as they grow up. And maybe, just maybe, we can change directly and indirectly, because I only have so much influence over my kids, right? We're not a prophet in our own country, as they say.
Yeah.
But if collectively we're influencing people to behave better, we're saving people from, I'm going to go deep here, we're saving people from suicide. We're saving people from slothfulness. We're preventing criminals from ever having, because we're collectively increasing mental awareness, we're increasing mental health. And so that's my detailed way of saying, I just want to make the world a better place. I know that sounds altruistic and cliche, but it's true, because my kids are going to live past me, and I want them to have the best environment that I can possibly make inside and outside my home.
So, what fears did you first face when stepping on stage for the first time? What was it like the first time you stepped on stage? How was that?
Oh gosh, so there's some things that I still carry, right? There's still some jitters that I get, but in the first time it was all about me. When I was first getting on stage, it was, do I look okay? How does my outfit? Do I look fat on this stage? Am I going to remember all of my lines? Am I going to remember the right stories? Am I going to fall off the stage? Is my PowerPoint going to work? All of these things that typically tumble through our heads, as public speakers. It was very me-centric. What about me? What about I? What about me? What about I? And I remember someone, I wish I could give it credit, but I can't remember who said it. Someone told me that stage fright is inherently selfish. I was like, what? What do you mean? And they're like, well, think about it. You're thinking about you. What about you? What about you? What are they going to think of you? How are you going to perform? Are you going to fall off the stage? Blah, blah. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. So when I'm backstage now, I still get the pre-stage jitters. I don't know if that ever goes away. And to be honest with you, I kind of don't want it to, because I think it keeps us in check as human beings. I think it keeps us learning instead of in ego. So when I'm in backstage now, what I'm doing is, if I'm in a physical room, I'm literally like peeking through the curtain. I'm sure they can see my nose shining through like that. But I'm watching the audience. I'm watching how they're responding to the speaker before me. I'm watching to see if they're warmed up. I'm watching to see if they're engaged. I'm looking for people that are on their phones in the black holes and not even paying attention, because those are the people that I used to be. Those are the people that I was. So my pre-stage jitters now are not what about me, it's what about them. Am I able to serve them? Am I able to give them what they came for? What do they need? Why did they get babysitters? Why did they take time off work? Dude, I've been in events where people paid their last dollar to buy the plane ticket and the Uber to get there and didn't have any money for lunch. They're that desperate for answers. I've been in events where a mom has come up to me and said, my son is alive today because you saw him and called him out at the last event. That's my primary concern, because, dude, the microphone, you know this, the microphone's a sacred space.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's sacred. Like we're taking people's time. They're investing their time. People are listening to their podcast, maybe because they prayed so hard and this is what they did for an answer. So my goal, whenever I step on stage, whether it's a physical run or right here on this podcast, is I'm just praying, listen, help me think about the people that are on the other side, maybe that I'll never meet. And God, if there's something that you have for them and I can be the mouthpiece, help me be so in tune, please, so that I can deliver it so that they get the answer. I don't even need credit. I don't need proof. I mean, it's nice when the proof comes back that we did the right thing at the right time. I love hearing that feedback. It just helps us, but I don't need it. I want to be the water slide that delivers the message that someone needs to hear. I don't even need credit. I just need you to get the message that you need to hear today.
What role did mindset play in creating this transformation for you?
Dude, what role does mindset play in it's everything.
Mhm.
It's everything. Do you know how many times I'm like, okay, I'm going to share a story from last night. So we're at the family photo shoot
Okay.
last night. And if you want to see what your limits are, just schedule a family photo shoot, man, because you got to look happy in those pictures, even if you feel like you've had a crappy day, right? Like, ugh. So we're at this family photo shoot. We go to this cute little farm in our neighborhood, and we're in the vineyard with the grapes growing on the other side. And in the vineyard, in walks a surprise for all of us, but this literal black sheep walks in. He's cute and fluffy and slightly aggressive. And I've got my whole family there. I've got my 6 kids. I've got my friend's family there. There's lots of children around. And this sheep has a mind of its own, walks up to my daughter when she's not looking, totally like from behind, jumps in and headbutts her, knocks her over. Poor girl. I mean, my daughter's 17, so she can take a hit.
Yeah.
But it emotionally threw her for a little bit. I mean, there was embarrassment that came up. Thank goodness she was okay, no broken bones or anything. But it brought up a lot of waterworks. It brought up a lot of emotion for her, and I hope she's okay. Sienna, forgive me if you're not okay with me telling this story quite yet. If it's still a little fresh, it's less than 24 hours old, right? But we talked about it today, and this image came to my mind. And I'll get back to the sheep thing, but I want to paint another picture for you. If you have an orange and you poke it and orange juice comes out, nobody's surprised. It's because the orange juice was in there to begin with.
Yeah.
We're not going to get pineapple juice. We're not going to get lemon juice. We're going to get orange juice. If a sheep comes up to us and hits us in the back and it brings up something, it's not the sheep. It was whatever was within to begin with. You want another place where you're going to see what's inside? Go to the stage.
Mhm.
Go to the stage, because that's going to reveal what's inside of you. So I found myself on stage thinking about the audience. Again, when I'm at my best, I'm thinking about the audience the most, right? And it very quickly became apparent to me that when we get on stage, again, it's a sacred space. We have a responsibility to speak and tell our stories from a place of healed wounds, not open wounds. I'm going to tell my story from a place of a scar, not an open wound. So if I haven't finished my story yet, if I haven't learned something from my story yet, that story is not ready for the stage, because then I'm still the victim. The last thing you and I want from public speakers is someone to go up and trauma dump.
Mhm.
And it's the worst when you get up on stage and you're done and someone from the audience says, I feel so sorry for you. I'm so sorry that happened. Like, what are we doing? This is not therapy.
No.
No, we have a responsibility to have a strong enough mindset. That doesn't mean nothing will ever happen, but have a strong enough mindset to be so resilient that when the sheep smashes through us in the back, or when we get in a car accident, or when we're in traffic, we have the mindset to say, okay, what am I learning? How am I a better person? I don't have to be a perfect person, but how am I a better person because of this? Because when we're sitting in the audience, when you and I are sitting in the audience and we are wowed by a public speaker, and that same public speaker then flips us off when we're driving through traffic, like, something's not right there. Something's not right there. If we are, Dean Graziosi puts it this way, he said, if I go to the restaurant and I order something and they bring something else out and I'm pissed, then my mindset is not strong enough. That is not someone that should be on stage. Mindset is everything. It's what turns your story into a lesson. It's what turns your experience into transformation for somebody else. So it's not a requirement for us to be perfect. We just have to be in practice, just like a physician. We just have to be in practice well enough that we can help other people.
Where are the early failures that became key lessons for you?
Early failures. Okay, so early failures. Ooh, man, if you want early failures, go back and watch your old keynotes. Most people won't do this, and I get it. It is, as the children are saying nowadays, super cringe or whatever. But watch your old keynotes. I remember watching my old keynotes, and if I go back now, and even my old YouTube stuff, if I go back and watch my old YouTube and I critique myself, I'm like, girl, my body language was so off. I didn't even know who I was. I didn't understand the effect of tonality. I talked way too fast. So there's all these little tips and tricks and tools of the trade. But all of these things are all about becoming a master communicator. It's
Yeah, it
all
takes
about
time.
communication,
Yeah,
right?
it takes time. I'm sure you just didn't come out speaking. It took you going
No,
on stage and doing it, actually.
no, I still mess up all the time. I still biff it. I probably messed up 6 or 7 times just in this episode. I don't know. I'll go back and be like, oh yeah, I probably should have done that different. But I think the biggest mistake is being too hard on yourself. That's the biggest mistake. I was just at the National Speakers Association conference down in Arizona a couple weeks ago. And there was a woman on stage, absolutely incredible. She was so funny. I loved her keynote. It made me think about my keynote, how much more permission I need to give myself to be funny, because otherwise, what are we doing here? And I remember watching her get off stage, and I made a point to go up to her and I said, listen, your keynote personally impacted me. I learned so much about the kind of person I want to be because you got up there and spoke. And
I've noticed that. I've noticed that where when I watch certain keynotes and when they interject humor into their keynotes, it makes it so much more entertaining. You enjoy it more because you're like, he made you laugh, but at the same time, they also made you think. So you're actually right. I enjoy that kind of keynote speaker who can come out and yes, they have what they're saying, but at the same time, you're also enjoying their humor. They're just they might crack a good funny joke or something, whatever it is. But yeah, a good humor in a keynote speaker is fantastic.
I'm working on being more funny. I literally Googled. I was like, I used to be funny. What happened? How do I be funny again? Like, not even joking. This is so embarrassing. But I went on Google and I was like, how do I be funny? And I went to Amazon and bought a book on
Yeah.
how to learn to be funny again. So here I am trying to be funny because you're right. Mr. Rogers said this, when we're having fun, when we're playing, we learn better.
Mhm.
So why not have more fun?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I think I was watching Dave Ramsey speak, and he cracked the joke, and it was just it was funny, and just, but it made me enjoy what he was saying so much more.
Hmm. Yeah, humor is it's quite the state change. And my idol, I wish I could interview him on my podcast. I don't, it's not possible, but one of my idols was Robin Williams. And if you remember any of his movies, he was known for his humor and his comedy and his fun, but what was so beautiful about him as a person, and I wish I could have known him on a more personal level. What was so beautiful about him as a person is that he leveraged humor so much because he was so familiar with pain.
Mhm.
He was so familiar with trauma, and that's ultimately what took his life at the end. But if you watch all of his films, Mrs. Doubtfire, you watch the Patch Adams, you watch Dead Poet Society, you will see this amazing psychological story arc of the humor and the comedy and the questioning of authority figures and all of these things. And then he talks about real issues. You know,
Mm.
Dead Poet Society has so much comedy in it, but it also talks about suicide
Yeah.
and why mental health is so important. And then Patch Adams is talking about, again, all of this humor, all of this funny stuff. But then we're talking about, real issues like aging and physical disabilities. And
Mm.
same with Mrs. Doubtfire. It's so funny. But then we're talking about blended and broken families and how divorce affects people and how divorce affects children. And he addressed these real issues, but he brought it into such a lighthearted comedy that it made the trauma pill swallowable. I wish I could interview the guy. I'm going to study him post-mortem and see what I can learn and find out. But that comedy element helps us cope with the tough stuff.
Yeah. What's your process for helping someone master their signature presentation? Because is that something that someone should have? Is this signature presentation?
Yeah, I'd say so. You have what you become known for, but I also say that with a caveat of your signature presentation is really best served when it can always evolve, because we're always evolving. I have met some master facilitators, names that you would know, whose keynotes haven't evolved in 20 years. And you know what? They're super successful, and I can't throw shade on it because I'm not as well known as they are. Clearly, they're doing something that's working. But I also have a massive amount of respect for keynotes that are relevant and current, having to do with relevant things that are happening right now in the news, in society, in culture, because that's what a lot of our traumas are dealing with. That's why people go to seminars. That's what we need help with, is real-time issues that are real life. So yes, you'll have a keynote. You'll have what you become known for. And when it comes to how do we develop that, so there's a framework that I like to give to people. That's a 10-step framework. And what's gorgeous about this framework, it's elegant, is that you can have this framework. It's like a blueprint operating in the background. But when you design your house, yes, you have the blueprint, but then you go in and you pick the drapes and you pick the color of the carpet and you pick the tile and you pick the fixtures and all of these things. You can have the same blueprint, but dress it up differently, suiting the needs of your audience every time, which is so great because you can be in front of any crowd. You can have any topic thrown at you. And if you know your blueprint and you understand the audience well enough, you can put the story where it needs to go. You can put the lesson where it needs to go. You can make the audience participation feed in where it needs to go. You can put the call to action where it needs to go. And psychologically, because we understand how the brain works, it will have hopefully the desired effect if you follow the blueprint. So you have your blueprints, color it in however that room needs you to, so that your audience can get what they came for.
Absolutely. So how can speakers turn one-time keynote into an ongoing revenue stream?
Okay, this is a really good question. So there's two ways that people get paid to keynote. And the first way is what generally is most often thought of when we keynote, and that's a stage fee. Stage fees are great. There's lots of pros to them. Stage fees are great because you can get paid $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $25,000 for an hour of work. And that's not really fair to say because you did all the 20 years of experience to lead up to that hour, but that's what they're hiring you for, is that 1 hour of work. And that's really well and good because you fly in or you drive in or you log on, you deliver your keynote, you take the check, and then you're done. You don't have fulfillment after that. You don't have to do follow-ups after that, and that's all well and good. However, I will say that you're leaving 60% of your revenue on the table if that's the only way you're getting paid. If you're amazing at your craft, if you're an amazing keynote speaker, if you move the audience, if you're more than a speaker, you're what I call a facilitator because you're making things easier for the audience. That's what facilitate means. Then your audience is going to want more of you. And they're going to want to work with you after you get off stage. And they're going to want to be around you after you get off stage. And they're going to want to do whatever you're talking about, whether you're talking about how to crochet or whether you're talking about holistic wellness or whether you're talking about how to train dogs or whatever your keynote is about, whatever it might be. Could be any topic whatsoever. The most sustainable and lucrative way to get paid to speak is by having a system where you can go into an association or whoever's hiring you, or even throw your own events, and you can say, listen, I'll speak for free, but I want to give a resource away to the audience. That makes sense. It needs to be a very natural next step, right? So when I speak to audiences, a lot of time I have a book of resources I can give away. I can give away my 10-step guide to your keynote. I'll give that away for free. I'll give away my podcast database so you can go get stages and whatever the audience needs. And then what happens from there is that when you keep feeding your audience, they're going to say, okay, great. For example, so I give away my podcast database, right? Give it away for free. Go to the database, find podcasts, apply, get booked, and I give it away. And usually what will happen is that people will come to me and be like, okay, So I went through this database. It takes a lot of work to go in and apply and get seen. Can you just do it for me? You have a team that can do it for me? And I'll be like, yeah, sure, we can do that. It's $150 a month. Sure. And then I'm bringing in clients because they asked me. This is the coolest part. I'm not having to do like beg and plead, please become my client. No, it's I'm going to just give away as much as I possibly can. And the moment someone says, can you do it for me? I say, here's how that's set up. Sure. And then they're like, good, because I would rather pay you to do it than do it myself. That's my favorite way to do business, when it's a win for everybody. And it's just very natural. It's like paying your electric bill. It's what you do because you would prefer to have the electricity than the money in your pocket, right? Those are the best transactions you can possibly have in business. And it makes you a ton more money than speaker fees.
For people terrified of public speaking, where should they start? Like how should they start? What should be something they should do?
First of all, get the reps in, because it's really hard to be scared of something that you're really used to doing, right? So here's your assignment. If you're really afraid of public speaking, I want you to go live on your favorite platform, whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, whatever your favorite platform is, and start a live video and go for 2 minutes. And then be done. It doesn't matter what you talk about. You can talk about your expertise. You can talk about what you had for dinner last night. Just get visible and practice using words in front of other people, because if you want to speak more, you have to speak more. Crazy, huh? So go live for 2 minutes and do that every day for the next week, and then every day for the week after that, and then every day for the week after that, and do it for 30 days. And I promise you, if you get the reps in every day for 30 days, just going live for 2 minutes, speaking is going to become way easier for you because you're used to it.
I'm gonna do that. Even though I do my podcast live 3 times a week, but I'm gonna challenge myself to go, because I've always said, yeah, I'm gonna do TikTok live and I'm gonna do Instagram. I'm gonna challenge myself to do for 30 days to at least 2 minutes a day on TikTok.
Just do it 2 minutes. 2 minutes is so easy. Even if no one shows up. No one showed up to my first keynote. That means no one saw me mess up, which is fine. Just do it anyway.
Well, what does authentic and impactful mean when it comes to monetizing a message?
Oh, that's authentic and impactful.
I know.
Okay, so we have really gone really far away from what influencer really means. I mentioned it before. Like, I'm not about the limp, plump, and fake lashes. I have had fake lashes. There's nothing wrong with this, ladies. If you want it because it saves you time, go for it. But it's not mandatory to be beautiful, okay? So influencer today, and today's definition, it's hard to find an influencer. They do exist, but it is hard to find an influencer who has authenticity, because we are not paid for authenticity. We are paid for trends. We are paid for popularity. That's what typically brings in the social credit score. And when I say paid, I'm talking in terms of social credit score, right? But it's the same thing. It usually hits a flash in the pan and then you're done. What pays long term is what you mentioned: authenticity, vulnerability as part of it. I'm willing to get on stage even when I'm imperfect, because that's all I will ever be, right? And being really genuine, admitting struggles. There's still things that I struggle with. And for any of us to pretend that we don't have anything we struggle with, run the other direction. If you ever have a mentor or anyone that you admire or look up to say, I'm not dealing with limits anymore, I'm like, who do you think you are? This is the skeptic in me coming back. Like, who do you think you are? You don't have any limits. You stopped learning? You stopped growing? I'm going to run the other direction, because I'm not done learning and I'm not done growing, and my mentors darn well better have mentors. Yeah. So when it comes to authenticity, and like I mentioned before, there's stories that are ready for the stage and there's stories that aren't ready for the stage. The issue that I have is telling a story not ready for the stage that you think is ready for the stage. I'll give you an example. So let's just say, and I'm going to make up something hypothetical here. Let's just say that I got divorced. I've been divorced before. That's real. But in this hypothetical, let's just say I got divorced and I'm still blaming my ex-husband for things. I'm pointing the finger of blame. It's his fault. He was such a blah, 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 fill in the blank. Anyone that's ever been divorced, we've all been tempted and we've all probably indulged in the finger pointing and the blaming and so forth. But if I'm getting up there and I'm saying, hey, listen, I'm so good because it was their fault, that lacks humility. That lacks growth. That in my divorce scenario, we were both at fault. I lacked self-respect. And that's a big deal. I lacked the ability to, I'm just going to admit it, I lacked the ability to have healthy intimacy. I did. In the relationship that is no longer a thing, I lacked the ability to hold self-respect boundaries. I was a doormat. I was not good at being who I knew I should be. I was not setting a good example for my kids. Man, it's hard to say lack of self-respect can be so bad, but it is. It can be so expensive. And it teaches my kids terrible things. So when I got real with that story wasn't ready for the stage. I had to go through it. I had to walk through it. I had to develop self-respect. I had to develop self-respect so much that it poured out into other people and respecting others. And by then, now that story's ready for the right audience. That's not my platform necessarily, but if I'm using that as an example, I can be authentic and talk about my experience and say, listen, I messed up. This is what I did to get better. And it's crazy because when we lack that ability to be honest about ourselves, as I mentioned before, we can be a flash in the pan. We can get social credit scores in terms of followers and counts, but it's not sustainable. You can get popular by being fake. Yes, you can, but you cannot stay popular by being fake. You can get a great income by being inauthentic and disingenuine. It can happen, but you can't keep it by being disingenuine. It just won't happen.
What do you see changing in the speaking industry right now?
Well, COVID did a number on us, didn't it?
It did.
It did a big number on us. It taught us a lot of things. There's a lot of digital movement in the speaking industry right now. Podcasts, I think, I haven't studied the numbers. I've just observed them. I haven't pulled reports or anything like that, but I've just made an observation that the number of podcasts, for example, have shot through the roof since the time of COVID because we're all locked in our basements, right? We're all like, I should make a studio out of this. This is where I am right now, right? Anyone can do a podcast, which is really cool. So that's done a lot of good for speakers because it allows conversations like this to happen.
Mm-hmm.
We can get on a digital, I don't have to drive anywhere. I don't have to get on a plane. I don't have to do any babysitting beyond hey, honey, can you watch the kids for a little bit? Right? That enables a lot more stages. And what that does is twofold. One, it's never been easier for speakers to get stages, but that has pros and cons because it means a lot of stages probably won't last because it's never been easier. So I see a lot of podcasts. Alex Hormozy says that if your podcast makes it past episode 20, you are automatically in the top 1% of podcasts worldwide, which is pretty cool. But it just goes to show that a lot of podcasts that start lack the stick-to-itiveness to them. Same with a lot of events. So because events have never been easier, it's never been easier to get booked on stages, but it's also requiring a lot more of facilitators and speakers to stay relevant. It's requiring a lot more of us as hosts to stay. It's easy to start. It's not easy to stay. And that's beautiful because it makes those of us that have been around for 50, 70, 100, 2,000 episodes to maintain that longevity or maintains credibility with our fan base. So that landscape is changing for speakers. I would say a lot more digital stages are becoming available. And we are now, because we are allowed to gather once again, physical events are becoming a lot more accessible. They're becoming a lot more common. And again, because we're there, the quality, because it's so easy, the quality is varied. So we as human individuals, we need to become a lot more discerning as to which events deserve our time, not just as speakers, but as attendees as well. So we need to be more critical of where we put our time, energy, and effort. And we can only be critical if we know what our goals are. And then we can stack the event, either as an attendee or as a speaker, up against our goals and say, does this match? And that's the question that we should be asking no matter what the landscape looks like. Does this fall in alignment with my goals? And if it doesn't, do something else.
So how can someone stand out in a crowded speaking market right now?
Well, one, longevity. If you want to stand out, just keep going. That's number one thing. Number two is to become more of who you are. And here's what I mean by that. I don't know if you remember back in high school chemistry, the periodic table.
Yeah.
Remember that? Periodic? Okay, it's a pretty general, commonly used thing. Okay. So someone put it this way for me. It was really crazy. They said, I'm going to get scriptural for a second. I hope that's okay.
That's fine.
So when Jesus said, be ye even as I am, a lot of us are like, well, that's intimidating because you're perfect and I'll never be. So what do you mean by that? Someone put it to me this way. They said, okay, go back to the periodic table. You take a look at gold over here on the periodic table. Then you have helium over here on the periodic table. Then you've got oxygen over here on the periodic table. Do you think oxygen is over looking at gold and being like, man, I wish I was gold. Wish I was like shiny and not oxygen. And I wish I had different number of electrons. No, that's not happening. No, we're not wishing to be something else. Oxygen is most volatile, powerful, and valuable when it is pure oxygen. Same thing with helium, same thing with gold and silver and freon and iron and all of these elements. They are the most powerful, valuable, and volatile when they are in their purest form. So if you want to stand out as a speaker, become the purest version of you. Don't pretend to be anybody else. When I train my facilitators, I'm not training them to speak like me. I'm training them to become a more pure version of themselves because that's when they're most valuable. So if you want to be funny, be funny. If you want to be serious, but be really good at it. If you want to do the splits on stage, do the splits on stage. You can't be anyone else. No one should be walking around trying to be Tony Robbins. Guess what? He's taken.
Yeah.
The world can't handle more than one of him. You should be working on being you.
And it's funny because I have a bunch of friends that they do their podcasts are more entertainment, so they have more celebrities. They get to speak to all these other, and I'm like, oh man, that sounds so dope because they're interviewing well-known celebrities, and I said, damn, I wish I could do the numbers. They're like, okay, yeah, we're doing some great numbers, but we want to do what you're doing because you're talking to people that are making impact. Yeah, we're talking to celebrities and all this, but you're speaking to coaches, you're speaking to entrepreneurs. You're actually making an impact. The content you're creating is beneficial for other people. Yeah, they're like, people are entertained by what we do. Great. But what you're doing is much more important. You're sharing stories. You're sharing inspiration. Well, like we said, we want to do that. And it
Wow.
made me, it blew my mind. Like, look, here I am, jealous of them. And they're looking at me like wishing they could do what I do. And I'm like, I was just blown back.
That's crazy that you're looking over the fence at each other and be like, man, I wish we could do blah, blah, blah. Man, like we just gotta knock that off, you know? Man, why? I was thinking about it one day and this is after the craziest thing happened. I watched, again, COVID did weird things to us. I watched this lady on Instagram who's giving massage therapy treatments over Zoom. Yeah, that's what my face did too. So like the patient is laying there on a Zoom call and she's like doing this to the screen, just massaging thin air over the screen. I was like, are you serious right now? She's getting paid to do this?
She wasn't touching.
No, she's just weaving her fingers in front of her camera. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. If she's getting paid to do virtual massage therapy, then there's no excuse for the rest of us. We should be able to get paid to do what we enjoy. This is a Japanese principle of ikigai. It's actually super cool to study. But man, if we just gave ourselves permission to do what we love, there's compensation for that, man.
Yeah. Well, so what's the first step for someone who wants to book their first paid gig?
Okay, good question. Good question. So, are we shooting for a speaker fee, or are we shooting for, getting paid off the stage? First, you got to decide that. Am I looking to get paid a speaker fee, or have I built a system to where when I get off stage, I can serve customers that way? You got to decide which track you're going for, because you can't split your attention on both. Okay. It's nice to have both. You can do both, but if you're wanting to book your next one, you have to pick, right? So if you want to get a speaker fee, that's going to require you to know people who pay speakers to come in. So I would say there's a resource of speaker bureaus. However, I would say they are very difficult to get into. You can't just walk in and say, I want to be represented by you as a speaker bureau. You have to have some longevity and some track record under your belt. So this is good if you've already got several stages and you're just like saying, oh, I should probably get paid to do this now. You can get a speaker bureau to represent you, or you can go to associations. Lots of associations pay external talent to come in and speak, and their budgets are different, so you'll have to negotiate whatever your speaker fee is with them. Associations and also universities. Universities have budgets for this. Usually they have grants and scholarships to pay outside speakers to come in. So if they have a budget for it, you know that there's probably a check in there somewhere for you. So that's not an issue. It's just negotiating your speaker fee at that point. So you can approach colleges and universities and have them. Again, you have to do a lot of applications. If you're new to getting paid to speak, you have to put out a lot of applications. But again, it's this consistency we've been talking about. If you're consistent, something's going to pop, and you're going to learn something about how to get paid, and then you're going to do more of that, and you'll get more paid speaking gigs. The next way is, if you're not looking for speaker fee right away, I know this is going to sound so scary that most of you won't do it, but just trust me on this one. Host your own event. Host your own webinar. Host your own Zoom call. I have a buddy of mine, his name is Jeff Walker. I have his book right here. Like, I'm not an evangelical proselytizer, but this book has made me so much money by throwing my own events, that I do virtual events, I do in-person events, and it's amazing because I made $15,000 using this methodology of just hosting my own event. That was just the last event, 15 grand at the last event. It was so cool. Our company is over six figures because we host our own event, over six figures in its first year. This next year, we're going to, let's see, we've only been in business officially as an entity. I've been teaching for a long time, but our entity started just last year. We made our first six figures in our first year. We're looking at more than doubling it this year. And it's just been amazing. I've been making millions of dollars for other people on other stages for a long time. And now we're doing it on our own. We're like, yeah, let's do this. Let's do it for other people too. So if you want to get paid to speak, not with a speaker fee, host your own event and have something that your audience wants and is willing to pay for, and sell it at your event. Do that again and again and again, and you've got a viable business.
And that's the difference now with hosting your, because now being able that a lot of people are doing it virtually, it gives you another platform now. Now it doesn't always have to be in person. It can be a virtual event.
Oh, absolutely. I go to virtual events all the time.
Absolutely, yeah. So what's next for you? More stages, programs, books?
Oh yeah. So we've been writing books, and I've got a book that I just thought of. And again, I haven't told anybody about this. I wasn't even going to tell anyone I was writing it, but here I am. I put together a book. It just came to me while I was sitting in my closet. It's Sunday night, and I want to call the book Uninfluenced. And I want to go into the deep psychology of why we do what we do. What has social media done to our behavior as a society, as religious groups, as social groups? And how do we start thinking critically for ourselves again? Because we have a responsibility to do that. Otherwise, we're going to end up like the people in WALL-E with our mobile wheelchairs just looking for the next AI-generated meal or whatever. We're headed in that direction. It's kind of scary. So I want to create this book. It's right now just sitting in my notes on my phone, but this is the first time I've told anybody about it, so I guess it has to happen now.
I think I want to buy that book.
Dude, like I've been doing so much research about this, so that's coming up. We're also hosting a bunch of retreats. We're throwing a women's retreat next summer to help the women who are in the speaking industry just have some friends, because most of us are on an island. We're going to be hosting some couples retreats coming up next spring, because a lot of people run their business like my husband and I do, and the HR department is overwhelmed because it's you and your husband or your wife or whatever. Like doing business together is hard and it's tricky and it's difficult. So we're going to be helping those people get going. And that's what's next for us. That short term. Long term, man, our goal is to put people on 1 million stages and help them make $1 billion doing it. And based on our numbers that we've been tracking, we are 5.4% there. So we're on our way, just chipping away at that goal.
Awesome. So what's your message to someone listening who feels too small to get on stage?
Well, that's all in your mind. If you're feeling like you're too small or too insignificant, or your story isn't traumatic enough, or your story is too traumatic, or you don't have enough followers, or you don't feel authentic, these are all absolute lies. 100% absolute lies. Let me tell you what's really happening. There's a little demon sitting on your shoulder, that little shoulder devil is sitting on your shoulder, terrified of you. They are so scared of you that they are telling you the exact opposite of the truth in hopes that you will believe it and not make the impact and leave the message that you were supposed to leave on this planet. Do you know how many people are scarring the planet and leaving a mark for bad? Just think about 1944 Germany. We all know world history enough to know the mark that man left behind. I'm not even going to speak his name. He doesn't deserve it. If that man can make that much of an impact, why shouldn't you? You have no excuses. And the cool part is that little shoulder devil, he's an idiot. He's stupid because he's telling you the exact opposite of the truth. So if you think you're too small, guess what the truth is? You are freaking larger than life, and you're being told that lie to keep you thinking something else. If you ever have a limit or a fear or this idea that you're less than, I got a news flash, guys. We know how this ends. We know the good guys win. You just got to decide whose jersey you're wearing. And if you wear the jersey that says, I'm part of the good guys, I'm winning, it's going to look different than you think it might. Because the way that we don't win is by doing nothing. The way that we don't win is by doing nothing. So kick that little shoulder devil off, send him back to hell where he came from, and say, oh my gosh, I just got the biggest clue into my potential. I'm not too small to play. I'm the biggest player out there because my name means something and I'm out here to make a difference.
All right, man. This has been a heavy episode. I love this episode. This has been great. I love it. But now we've come to the part of the show where you get the solo screen and you get to plug away. Basically, your call to action is coming right now. So
let's go. Well, listen, if you've been on this show and you've liked what you've heard, maybe I'm not for you and I'm okay. But if you want to hang out and you want to get on more podcasts and you know your message is going to change the world or maybe the world of just one person, right? This is what I want you to do. I want you to just text me 801-509-5495. Tell me that you heard me on this show and let's chat. Let's talk about what you're wanting to do. Let's talk about the lives you're wanting to impact and let's talk about how to do it sustainably, because if your mission is worthy, it's worthy of being funded. And we should be able to do this. Yes, we have altruistic reasons. Yes, we have lives we need to change, but we can't do that if we're worried about paying the water bill. We can't do that if we're worried about keeping the lights on. You deserve to be compensated for what you know, what you do, and what you love, and you deserve to change as many lives as possible. It's funny how money can magnify that for you. So let's talk. Just text me. Tell me that you heard me on the show, and let's just talk about whatever's on your heart, whether it's getting on more stages, learning how to get paid, building your back-end CRM. My husband's an expert at that. He can hook you up. But let's get your message out there because you and I both know that this planet that we live on, the societies that we live in, the cities that we live in, the churches that we go to, we need more good people that know how to use their voice. So that's what I'm here for.
Awesome. That's great. All right, don't leave just yet. Let me close out the show, but thank you. You've been such a great guest. I love the nugget. You dropped some great nuggets, so I'm excited to cut this up and release the clips to this. But thank you so much for being such a great guest.
I hope it serves your people. That's the goal.
No, you did. You did a wonderful job. Thank you so much. But don't leave yet. Let me close out and we'll chat a little bit off the air. But thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right, everybody. If this episode lit that fire in you to finally share your story, connect with Marianne Hickman and learn how to master your message and monetize your speaking. And if you know someone sitting on a story that could change lives, Send them this episode because they might just be on stage. They just might be on stage one day, away from everything that they've been dreaming of. So stay bold, stay ready, stay wise, and thank you to everyone who's tuning in. Greatly appreciate it. Peace out.